Good morning. Good morning, my beautiful friends. This is your wake up call with Maui Paul. I am Maui Paul. We are here today to say some nice things about ourselves. I want to say good morning to everybody who's here today. Good morning, Lauren, coming in from Cumming, and Dan coming in from Buford. Good morning, Shauna, coming in from your house, and Tony coming in from Florida. Wonderful to see everybody here today. Thank you so much for being here. Looks like Pepper put up a question of the day today. What are you grateful for? And let's see here. Dan says he's grateful for life, family, friends, grateful to live in the USA. I like that. Lauren says she's grateful for good health and life. Shauna says grateful for perfect timing. Well, that's a cool one to be grateful for. And Tony says grateful for life, beautiful angel mama, her guy Frank, family, and friends. All right. Well, I am grateful for all the people who come by and watch the wake up call every morning. And I'm grateful for having a good reason to get out of bed to come and do this. Grateful for my health, for the health of my family, and of course for the health of my unborn daughter. All right. So I'm also grateful that Pepper has made up some new cards. And so let's have some fun today. I'm going to pull the card off the top of the deck. I'm going to ask you if you are the affirmation on the card. And we are going to respond out loud together. I am that affirmation. As we do this, we are building into our own lives. We are changing up our own perception as to what's going on, and ultimately, we are moving in the direction that we would like to go. So let's have some fun today. Let's pull a card off the top of the deck and say that today I am abundant. I am abundant. I appreciate the richness of my experience. So I am abundant. I appreciate the richness of my experience. Are you abundant? You are abundant. You appreciate the richness of your experience. I'm going to write that down in the comments. I encourage you to do the same thing. As I write down that I am abundant and that I appreciate the richness of my experience. You know, when I was younger and I started to explore other philosophies that were different than the one that I grew up with. You know, I grew up a fairly conservative religious, and as I started to explore other philosophies, one of the philosophies that I explored was a New Age philosophy in which abundance is factors quite prominently. And as I explored that philosophy, it was interesting because the um, the idea of abundance was always tied with this idea of like having more money. And it was something where I noticed that the people who were always talking about abundance and talking about it in the context of having more money oftentimes didn't really all have all that much money. And so I got to thinking about it. I'm like, well, what is abundance really? Well, abundance is simply having more than enough of anything, more than enough of everything. And abundance itself, when improperly applied, could give us more than enough of what we do not want, in the same way that it gives us more than enough of what we do want. Mm-hmm. And as I started to really consider it, I realized that I did have an abundance already. That even though I didn't have all that much money, and I didn't have all that much money back then, um, I looked and I thought to myself, well, what do I have an abundance of? I have an abundance of health. I have an abundance of like gasoline in my car. I have an abundance of opportunities to make something of myself. I have an abundance of friends, and I have an abundance of acquaintances. I have an abundance of love in my world. I also thought to myself, I also seem at this point to have an abundance of pain, an abundance of frustration too. And so, in my world, being abundant was not even so much about making sure that I always had a lot of everything. It was making sure that I had an abundance of the things that were most important to me, the things that I actually desired. Didn't need an abundance of everything, but certainly was working toward an abundance of certain things. And when I started to really consider it, I realized that the that having abundance was primarily a matter of perspective. It was a matter of recognizing what I had an abundance of paying attention to it. And I mean, I remember I was doing I guess a spiritual exercise with this group of people who were very much into like some kind of like an abundance mentality or an abundance mindset, and we were writing words on stones in order to create some touchstones for our day or for our year. And it occurred to me that these people, and me also by definition, but that all of us were focusing on what we did not have. We were focusing on what we didn't have enough of because we were writing down what we didn't have enough of on these stones to try to manifest more of that thing. And so I recognized that even though we talked all about abundance, what we were focusing on was lack. And we were focusing on was what we didn't have. And what we were focusing on was was what we desired more of. And so I decided that I was going to appreciate what I did have a lot of, and that I was going to appreciate what what I did have an abundance of, and to really pay attention to what I did have an abundance of. And when that happened, I started to really experience that abundance. I started to experience that thing that the folks around me were striving for. I started to recognize that I had more than enough of so much stuff. And I also began to recognize that I had more than enough of things that I didn't want in my life. And I adopted another philosophy at that time that was more fitting for me, more suitable for me, of more than more or less. And so I decided that I would bring more of whatever it is that I liked into my life, and that I would step away from and allow myself to have less of things I did not like in my life. And it was really a matter of deciding, it was a matter of choosing, it was a matter of sifting between desires. And I recognized at that point that as I began to appreciate the richness of my experience, as I began to appreciate what was in my life, it allowed me to understand more fully what I desired more of and what I desired less of. And so today I can comfortably say that I am abundant, and I am abundant in many ways that I like to be abundant in. I have an abundance of love in my life. I have an abundance of food and clothing and shelter, and I have an abundance of friends and social opportunities. I have an abundance of opportunities in general. And that a lot of the things that I used to have an abundance of that I didn't actually like, things like an abundance of pain or an abundance of frustration, I've minimized those things in my life. I've stepped away from the situations that were causing those things to exist in my world, and stepped toward the things that create the type of abundance that I do desire. And so abundance is not so much about just having more than enough. It's about making sure that we have more than enough of the things that are most important to us, and allowing ourselves to let go and not have more than enough of the things that are not that are not most important in our lives. And as we do that, as we properly put things in their place and sift through life experiences, it gives us this incredible ability to very much design our lifestyles the way that we want them to be. And so I am abundant today. You are abundant as well. And so let's appreciate the richness of our experience. Let's appreciate what is around us. Let's appreciate what we have a lot of. And let's appreciate also the way that our lives are better today than they were yesterday. And if we look in our lives and we find that we have an abundance of something that we do not want, let's stop enabling those things to exist. Let's make the changes in whatever the root causes are, and ultimately be able to move away from the things that we do not want, so that we can have more time, more energy, more effort, more resources to bring to bear, to bring in the things that we do desire to have an abundance of in our lives. Because as we do this sifting, and it's hard to ask these questions, as we do this sifting, and as we appreciate the richness of what we have, it allows us to really focus in on what is most important and say, I want more of this and less of that. All right, my beautiful friends, I want to say thank you so much for being here. It is always wonderful to be able to do a wake-up call in the morning. So good morning again to everybody who has come in. Lauren, Dan, Shauna, Tony. It's good to see you guys here today. Good to see you too, Donna. Wonderful to see that you've left me a comment. Good morning from the HOA. I will return tomorrow at 9 a.m. with another one of these. Until then, I want to say thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you to Pepper for creating this card so that I could pull it this morning. Your daily reminder. This is your up to the moment reminder that you are an amazing person, that you are beautiful, that you are awesome, that your life is worth living, and that that you are inherently valuable and worthy, that your dreams are worthy of you, and that as you go through today, that you are going to absolutely rock it. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Until then, I love you. I appreciate you. Think you're awesome. And until then, aloha from paradise.